Hello everyone and welcome back to Living the Florida East Coast. So if you're moving down from New York, New Jersey, or really anywhere up north, these are the few things that you absolutely need to know before making that move down here to Florida. So these are the same things that I tell every single client who's relocating from out of state, and they'll save you a lot of headaches here and a lot of money if you know them up front. And hey, if you're thinking about making the move to Florida, no matter what part of the state that you're looking at, my team and I can help. Yes, I know I probably should have thought through the name of my channel better. I have Living the Florida East Coast, but really anywhere throughout the states. If I would have known that we would have a network of agents all around the state of Florida, I definitely would have thought a little bit longer about naming the channel. But anyway, my contact information is on the screen and in the description below. So whether it's Vero Beach, West Palm, or anywhere else, just give us a call and we'll help you find the right place to call home. Now let's go ahead and jump into it because I've got some important things that you need to know before packing up and heading down south. All right, now one of the first things that I always tell people that are moving from New York or New Jersey is to think about storage differently down here. So you're probably used to basements, big attics up north, and you could throw all your holiday decorations, your old furniture, and random stuff down there and not even think twice about it. Well, here in Florida, we don't have basements. The water table is too high, and with our sandy soil, digging deep down isn't an option unless, of course, you would like a swimming pool. So that means that everything that you own has to be stored somewhere else. And for most people, that ends up being the garage. Now, I always recommend going for a 3-car garage if you can. A 2-car garage might seem fine at first, but you start adding hurricane shutters, beach chairs, paddle boards, bikes, tools, and lawn equipment, and it fills up very, very fast, not even to mention kayaks or jet skis or anything else like that. So it's not like up north where you can just walk down a set of stairs, store your things in a dry basement. Here, if you don't have the space, then your only other option is going to be a very expensive storage unit, and let me tell you, that gets old very, very quickly. Now, a 3rd garage bay gives you some breathing room, especially if you plan on buying toys like golf carts, which is a pretty common thing once people settle in here. I've had clients call me after 6 months of moving in saying that they wish they had listened and wish they had gone with that 3rd car garage space. Now, the good news is a 3-car garage can actually boost your resale value in Florida because it's something that buyers are willing to pay for. It's not a luxury. It's a practical move that makes day-to-day living easier, that avoids that cluttered, cramped feeling. So if you're coming from up north, just know that garage space here is the closest thing that you're going to get to a basement, and think long-term and don't underestimate how much you'll need it. All right, now one of the biggest things that I have to explain to people from up north is how property taxes work here in Florida because they're completely different than what most people are used to. Now, a lot of clients will look at a home online and ask me, Andrew, the taxes are only $2,000 a year here. How is that possible? It's a $600,000 house. And the short answer is
not really.
So that $2,000 figure is based on the current owner's homestead exemption and assessed value, which could be locked in for years and is often way lower than what a new buyer is going to end up paying. Now, the reality is when you buy a house here, the county will reassess the property based on the purchase price. So if somebody bought a house 10 years ago, for instance, for $250,000 and they had their homestead exemption in place ever since, their taxes are going to be artificially low. Now, the moment that you close on that house for $600,000, the property taxes reset and jump to reflect that new value. Now, remember, property taxes here are paid in arrears. So you're going to be paying last year's tax always, and that's just the way that it usually works. And I've seen buyers get sticker shock because they thought that they were getting this low, sweet tax bill only to realize that it's going to be triple the amount that the current owner is paying after that property changes hands. Now, another thing to consider is how the homestead exemption actually works. Now, if this is going to be your primary residence, which I understand a lot of people it will not be, you will need to file for homestead exemption as soon as you can after closing. And what that does is cap your increase in the assessed value to 3% year over year. And that is going to be huge in Florida because our home values have been climbing like crazy over the last few years. And if you don't file, your taxes can jump a lot year over year and you're leaving money on the table. Now, one quick tip that I always recommend and give clients is to never trust the property tax number that you see on Zillow or realtor.com for the reasons that I just explained. Those sites just scrape data from the county appraiser's office, but they have no idea what your tax bill will be once the house is reassessed. Instead, I could run a quick calculation based on the home's price and give you a much more realistic idea as to what you'll actually pay. It's a simple step, but it can save you from being blindsided when the first tax bill shows up. So when people ask me about property taxes in Florida, I tell them, don't even look at that number. Look at how that number was created and plan for what your number will be, and that's going to be the bottom line and as close as we can get with that. All right, now insurance. Now this is one of the biggest shocks for people who are moving from up north to Florida because of course hurricanes, and I always tell clients up front so there are no surprises. So what we like to do is if you're investing in a resale house, we will have a inspection. Usually I like to have it about a 7 to 10 day inspection, and then have that inspection report and 4-point wind mitigation, everything be handed over to the insurance guy. And then that way we can go ahead and get a realistic quote as to what it is, or a solid concrete quote since you have all the inspection reports before you go and move forward, and that money becomes hard money. So the only thing that you're really spending is the cost of the inspection, your deposit, and everything else is refundable up until the end of that inspection report. But up north, going back to prices, you might be paying $1,000 or $1,500 a year for homeowners insurance. And here that number can easily double or triple depending on the age of the home, the type of the roof, and whether the property is in a flood zone. Now, hurricanes, tornadoes, and flood risks are just part of life here, and the insurance companies price that risk in whenever they price these homes. Now, I get a lot of clients who say, well, I saw the flood rating on realtor.com and it doesn't look that bad. Now, the problem is these ratings are not always accurate, and what really matters is the FEMA flood maps, because that is what the banks and insurance companies use to determine if you are required to carry flood insurance. Now, if you're financing your home with a mortgage and you're in a designated flood zone, you'll have no choice. You're going to need to carry that flood policy. If you're in a flood X, you're okay. AE is usually the other one where they do require you to carry that flood policy. Now, that could add several $1,000 a year on top of your regular homeowner's policy. So it's something to know before you even put in an offer on a house, is whether or not this is in a flood zone or not. Now, another thing that I've been hearing a lot, especially in the comments on my videos, is that some people think that the new construction homes don't look like they're built up high enough to get above the road. I always talk about how new construction houses are built up and above the street, and I get where they're coming from because this is what I talk about a lot. Usually when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about non-HOA neighborhoods. So take the Sebastian Highlands, for instance. New construction houses, you'll find them lifted way up above the street to avoid any kind of flood risks. But with the HOA neighborhoods, here's the truth. The entire neighborhood gets raised during development. So on that street that you're driving on, the sidewalks, and all of the lots, they've already been elevated above the main road coming onto the community. So whenever you pull into these neighborhoods, you'll notice a slight kind of incline as you're driving in. And that means that these houses don't need to have a giant incline or steps leading up to the front door, but they're still on a higher ground than you think. So it's just one of the ways that the developers build to those modern storm standards without making the homes look like they're sitting on stilts. Now, the good news is not every property needs flood insurance, and those new construction neighborhoods, especially ones built to the latest codes, tend to have lower insurance premiums, impact-rated windows, concrete block construction, and new roofs all work in your favor to lower that bill. And I also bring up the idea of self-insuring to some of my clients as well. So if you're not in a flood zone and you have a healthy savings account, you could technically skip homeowners insurance altogether. I guess the only risk is tornado or fire, especially if you're buying with cash. And why is because the odds are, even in a hurricane, if it rolls through, you're only going to lose a few shingles or have some yard cleanup. And that repair is usually a fraction of what you pay over 10 to 15 years in premiums. So for example, during the 2004 hurricane season, we had Francis, Jean, and Charlie all hit the area. My family home had a shingle roof, and we only lost a few shingles and had some branches down in the yard. Now, it's been since 2004 since we've had a direct hit, so yes, we're probably due for one. I'm not looking forward to into this up and coming season. But anyway, to go back to that, the repair bills were very minor and the cost less than what a big insurance payout would have been, not to mention them raising the premiums on you for filing. It's just a sticky mess when it comes to insurance. But I'm not saying that insurance is a bad idea. For a lot of people, it's peace of mind. And if you're financing, it is going to be mandatory anyway. I just think that it's smart to know all of your options and not assume that insurance here works the same as it does up north. And it's another piece of the Florida puzzle that you need to budget for and understand before you buy. All right, now another thing I always bring up with people coming from up north is homeowners associations or HOAs and condo rules. Now up north, especially in New York and New Jersey, you might not have dealt with as many HOAs unless you've lived in a condo or a townhouse. Now down here, they are just about everywhere. A lot of the newer communities, especially the gated neighborhoods and new construction developments, have HOAs, and they're not going away anytime soon. In fact, they're getting more popular. So some people hate the idea of someone telling them what color they can paint their house or where they can park their boat.
You can't park this, huh?
And if that's you, then an HOA neighborhood might not be your thing. But I also explain the flip side, because HOAs can be a good thing when they're ran well and they keep the neighborhood looking sharp. They prevent that one neighbor from letting their lawn turn into a jungle, and they usually cover some sort of basic maintenance like lawn care, cable, or community amenities like pools or clubhouses. Now, the cost of an HOA can vary a lot depending on where you buy. Some are $50 a month, some are $300 or more, especially in communities with lots of amenities. And the key is to know what you're paying for and whether or not it makes sense for your lifestyle. For example, if you're a seasonal resident and you're not going to be here year round, paying for lawn service included in your HOA might actually save you money and give you that peace of mind that your property is being maintained while you're gone. Now, another thing is too, if you plan on hiring everything out, like I've hired lawn care, a lot of people hire the pool maintenance and everything else like that. If that's all included in the HOA, you want to take what it would cost you to hire that out individually, and then also compare that to what your monthly cost is at the HOA and see if it really lines up. Now, going deeper down the rabbit hole, condo rules are looking stricter. So if you're looking into buying a condo, especially oceanfront, just know that you're going to have a lot more regulations, and the monthly fees can be significantly higher than single family HOAs. Now, they cover the insurance on the entire building, the common area maintenance, reserves for big repairs like roofs or elevators, and other shared expenses as well. Now, that's great peace of mind, but I always tell clients to read into the condo bylaws and the financials before making an offer. And you want to know if there is any special assessment coming up or if the association is going to be well funded for those upcoming costs. Now, the biggest mistake I see people make is ignoring the HOA or condo documents until it's too late, and they fall in love with the house, but then they find out that they can't park their RV in the driveway, or there's a big assessment coming up. And that's why I always want to go over these rules early with my clients so that there are no surprises. And at the end of the day, an HOA isn't a bad thing. It just depends on what kind of buyer you are, how it's ran, how much freedom you want to have when it comes to your property, and so on and so forth. All right, now, one of the biggest adjustments for people coming from up north is the lifestyle change. Now, Florida, and especially Vero Beach, runs at a completely different pace. You're coming from a world where everything moves fast, traffic, service, even the way that people walk on the sidewalk. Here, things really slow down. And it's not just the heat, it's a whole mindset that really goes with it. So we have more of an island lifestyle, I like to call it, on the East Coast. People take their time, restaurants move at a different pace, and you'll quickly notice that the sense of urgency that you're used to up north just isn't the same around here. Now, you can usually spot a New York plate from a mile away, and I'm not talking about the tag itself, I'm talking about the driving style, and it's aggressive compared to what we're used to here. Now, most locals are more laid back on the road, they take their time, and that doesn't mean that we don't have bad drivers, we definitely do, but the vibe is just a little bit different. Now, people aren't honking or cutting each other off like in Manhattan traffic, so if you're moving down, be ready for that slower pace, not just in life, but also in how people do business here, how they drive, and even how they communicate. Now, let's talk hurricane prep a little bit. So if you're going to be seasonal, I strongly recommend getting impact windows, and it's not about protecting your home during the storm, it's about the convenience itself. Now, the last thing that you want to do is scramble to find somebody to put up those hurricane shutters for you while you're sitting in your condo up north. And impact windows are just going to give you that peace of mind because you can just leave them closed and not worry about a thing. Now, another thing that that I tell seasonal owners to do is to keep your AC running even whenever you're not here. Set it to around 78 to 80 degrees, because turning it off is one of the worst things that you can do, because Florida humidity will take over inside your house. And I've seen it happen. People think that they are saving money by shutting off the power, and then they come back to find their walls completely covered in mold. So once this happens, you're looking at tearing out drywall, getting in mold remediation companies, dealing with major repairs, cleaning the ductwork, and spending way more than you would have saved on that electric bill that you tried saving. Now, another thing, I also recommend hiring someone to check your house at least once a month if you're not living here year round. It's not just about the AC filters. It's also checking appliances. It is looking for leaks. It's making sure that the power is still on, and generally keeping the house in good condition. And it's just a small expense that can prevent a big problem down the road. Now, the lifestyle shift here is real. Things are slower, more relaxed, and honestly, it's one of the biggest reasons that people move here. But it also means that you have to change your mindset a little bit, and don't expect the same pace, the same service, or the same hustle that you had up north. This is Florida. It's warm, it's sunny, and things are just done differently here. And once you settle into that rhythm, you'll probably find that it's exactly why you moved here in the first place. All right, now when I'm working with buyers from up north, one of the things that I point out is the homes here in Florida are built very differently than what you're probably used to. So forget basements, the brick walls. Down here, especially in newer neighborhoods, you're gonna see CBS construction, which stands for concrete block and stucco. And I always recommend going with a CBS home when possible, because it's designed to handle the hurricane force winds, and it usually translates to lower insurance premiums. Now, wood frame houses here, they still exist, especially in older parts of the town, but they come with a few downsides. Insurance is going to be higher. They're more susceptible to termites. A lot of the times they're older, so they're built level with the street, so you have more flood risk, and they require more maintenance. So if you are coming from a market where brick is going to be standard, then CBS is the closest thing that we have with that same level of durability and peace of mind. Now, roofing is another big topic. Up north, you might not think twice about getting a 20-year-old roof or having a 20-year-old roof, but here, roof age is a huge factor for both insurance and resale value. Now, shingle roofs typically have a 15 to 20-year lifespan, but most insurance companies won't even touch a shingle roof that is older than 15 years. Now, that means that if you're buying a house with a 14-year-old roof, you need to go ahead and budget a replacement soon, or you'll have trouble getting that coverage. Now, personally, I'm a big fan of metal roofs. They cost more upfront by just a little bit, but they last the longest, hold up better during the hurricanes, and are the least stressful when it comes to insurance. Now, tile roofs are also popular, especially in those higher end homes, but the replacement costs can get crazy, sometimes up to $40,000 to $50,000 or more for a full roof, because now you're chipping up tile instead of just stripping shingles. Now, shingle is still one of the most common options, especially in newer construction neighborhoods, but I tell buyers to plan ahead, because I have a shingle roof on my house, but when the time comes, I'll be switching to metal for that long-term value and that peace of mind. Now, another point I want to keep in mind is wind mitigation. So a lot of Florida homes are built with features like hurricane clips and reinforced garage doors, which can save you money on insurance. And if you're buying a home that doesn't have those, then you might want to add them right away, because they'll pay for themselves over time. Now, when you're house hunting down here, don't just look at how pretty the house is or how much character it has. Look at the construction, the age, the type of roof, and whether or not the home is built up to the current hurricane codes. Now, these things can make or break your insurance costs and your long-term maintenance expenses, so make sure to pay attention to that. All right, now one other thing that I always tell people moving here to Florida, especially in Vero Beach, is about the convenience and lifestyle, but it's different from what most people are used to up north. So for starters, this is not a big city environment. You're not going to have the same hustle and bustle or 24/7 access to everything that you might have in New York or New Jersey. And honestly, that is what a lot of people love about it. Vero's got that small town feel where you can cross town in 15 minutes, no matter what time of the day it is. Now, while Vero is smaller, it's surrounded by bigger city options. So if you wanted world-class shopping or fine dining, for instance, you could be in West Palm Beach in about an hour and a half. Or you can head to Orlando or Miami for a day trip or weekend getaways. And we're also only about 25 minutes away from Sebastian, which has its own complete unique vibe and local hangouts like Captain Hiram's and Squid Lips, which are places that I like to take clients to whenever they're thinking about moving to either Vero Beach or Sebastian. So you're never really far away from anything to do, but you still get to live in that slower, more relaxed area. Now, another thing I like to bring up is how free and easygoing it is to enjoy the beaches here. So in Vero, the parking is going to be free, which is not always the case in a lot of Florida cities. There's a couple spots near Ocean Drive that have a 2-hour parking limit, but if you go to JC Beach or the tracking station, you can park there all day without worrying about a ticket. Now, that is going to be a big perk if you're planning on spending the weekends here by the water or the families or friends. Now, we've all done it if you're a local where you've parked and you left your car there for too long. So the ticket's really only $20 and you go and you pay that cash. And honestly, that is going to be about what any other city is going to charge you to park there anyway. So you're still coming out on top, even if they catch you and you get ticketed. Now, moving on, local events are another thing here that adds to the charm here. We have the farmers market every Saturday morning on Ocean Drive, and it's one of those places where you could just bump into some neighbors, grab fresh produce, or enjoy some coffee. TC Palm, another one, is also going to be putting out a weekly list of everything going on around the Treasure Coast, which I always recommend checking out because it saves you the trouble of searching for things to do on your own. And if you're moving down with kids, Vero is going to be great for families. You've got Homestead Park, which is right by the beach and has a great playground, and there are other public parks within walking trails all over town. There's even a 5-acre dog park for those 4-legged friends of yours by the river with a kayak launch and landing spot, so where if you're kayaking with your pup, you can even pull them up, open up the gate, and be at the dog park, which is honestly insane and a perk that I never really see any other city mimic. All right, now one last thing that I wanted to touch on in this video is when people thinking about moving to Florida, I hear a lot of the same fears or misconceptions, and one of the biggest ones, funny enough, is alligators.
Knows not to mess with Sir Joseph Sturt.
People think that gators are just lurking around every corner, ready to pounce the second that you step outside, but the truth is, I've lived here my whole life, and I've never even seen a gator wandering around a residential street or a backyard pond. Are they out there? Sure, but it's not like every retention pond in your neighborhood is crawling with them. Now, the advice that I give is very simple. Don't walk your small dog right up to the edge of the lake or the pond, especially at dusk, and you'll be fine. Gators don't want to mess with you unless you're messing with them, and common sense goes a long way here. Now, same also goes for snakes. They are usually harmless, and I rarely see them in residential neighborhoods. They're more scared of you than you are of them, is the classic stories. Don't let wildlife scare you off from living here. It's just not as dramatic as the internet makes it out to be. Of course, the internet does a great job of dramatizing everything. Now, another thing that I warn people about is the heat, and I'm standing out here right now on July 23rd recording this video, so it is hot. Now, Florida summers, they're no joke. July and August are brutal. It's not just the heat, it's going to be the humidity that also slaps you. So you step outside and you feel like you're walking into just that wall of steam. So if you plan on moving here, I always recommend avoiding a summer move unless you're hiring a full moving crew to handle everything. And even then, I tell clients the best time to move is going to be between February and May when it's warm but not oppressive. And on the flip side, our winters here are beautiful. No snow, no ice, just perfect weather for being outside. Except for December was pretty rainy last time, so that would have been a little bit annoying if you were planning a move. Alrighty, now lastly, I'll throw this out there. Don't let Florida horror stories scare you off. Yes, we have hurricanes, but also some of the strictest building codes in the country. Yes, we have bugs, but everyone has pest control service, and it's just part of the routine. And yes, summers are hot, but that's why most people spend their time at the beach, out on the water, or just enjoying the slower pace here. Now, once you get here and you settle in, most of those so-called deal breakers just become a part of normal life. So it's really not that big of a deal, and you adjust pretty quickly. If you're thinking about making a move to Florida, whether that's Vero Beach, West Palm, or really any part of the state, my team and I can help you make that smooth transition. All my contact information is on the screen and down in the description below. We love working with buyers, and we help them relocate all across the country. We'd love to help you walk through everything step by step, from finding the right neighborhood to understanding the costs and the lifestyle changes that go along with it. Now, if you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out some of our other videos where I break down the hidden costs of living in Florida, my favorite neighborhoods, and everything else you need to know before making the move. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.